Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of ShrinksChat. I'm Monica Burton.
And I'm Annette Reiter, and today it's just me and Monica, and we are going to talk about unique COVID experiences, because I'm sure you're having a few.
Yes, and really what we're talking about are stressors that are related to or a result of COVID. You know, it's been around really, I don't know, at least here since March, probably before that, but we're seeing a lot of things come up as a result of COVID-19.
Right. It feels like it's been around for like ever, and then it also feels some days like it just started. I'm lost in that COVID time bubble where I have no idea what day it is, or even though I'm still working. I know you're feeling the same, Monica.
I
It's
know.
just, it's like, is it Tuesday? What day is it? Is
I
this the
know.
weekend? Oh,
I know someone brought up something in April, and I was like, what? When did April happen? I
yeah.
feel like April just disappeared.
We missed April, missed that month,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I
So
think,
oh, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, I think what we wanted to talk about is just first, like, because COVID has been around so long, we are going to know someone and we're going to be in close contact with someone, either one who's tested positive or we ourselves are going to test positive.
Yeah, so testing, get prepared. It's going to enter your world if it hasn't already, and plan on it. Like, it's going to be around for a lot longer to come. You'll probably go and get this test more than once, more than twice, maybe even more than 10 times in the next year or so, just depending on when some type of vaccine comes around for this. And it recently happened to me that I was in contact with someone who then reported to me that they had it when they were with me. And I had to go get my first testing. And I can just tell you what I learned is don't do it my way or do it my way. It really wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, I survived it. But if you're not prepared, or if you haven't thought that testing will be a part of your future, you don't know where you can go to get testing in your county, you should maybe start figuring that out, because it's probably coming up, and you want to know and be prepared for that, who you would call, what phone number you would find. When you all of a sudden find out you need to get testing, you don't want to be looking for that. And I've since found out that I have lots of friends that have got tested multiple times now, so. And you'll probably find out someone maybe has been in your house, or you've been around someone who ended up testing positive for it. It's the new part of our world that we all have to live with.
So what would you say is the first step when you find out that you need to go get tested for COVID?
Well, you can call your doctor's office if you have a doctor. And you have a doctor that's still around, right? Like, some doctors have closed their practices, are not seeing clients anymore. So you can call your doctor's office and they might help you find out where you can go get tested at. You could also look through your county medical health, who and where is testing done. But I guess if you've been exposed, your first step, if you find out you've been exposed, is to quarantine, if you haven't been doing that already. And then look at the people you've been in contact since the likely exposure, and maybe bring them up to speed that there's a possibility that you were exposed, which now means they may have been exposed.
Right.
If you want to be ethical and responsible to other people.
I think the other thing to remember is when you hear that you need to go get tested, to take a deep breath. I don't know about you, Annette, but around this whole thing, there are times when I feel a lot of anxiety, and I know that I can dive into being in a really anxious state, and I don't always think clearly when I'm anxious. So I have to remind myself at times to stop, slow down, take a deep breath, and focus on what's in my control.
Well, and know that you don't need to do or go get tested right away anyways, unless, I can't even think why you have to go get tested right away. I mean, some people wait for 14 days from the exposure, just go ahead and quarantine. So, but if you decide to get tested and you need to get tested, then the look and all that. So I think my point being is taking a deep breath is spot on, because it may be that you don't want to go jump off and get tested right away. And you don't want to start spinning your wheels. I always know when I'm spinning my wheels because everything gets hard to do. It's like I'm riding a bike without gears uphill. It's like I can't get anything done. I'm every way I turn is a no answer. So then it's like maybe I shouldn't be doing anything.
Right.
So that's usually the sign for me when I'm spinning my wheels or trying too hard to move something too quick.
Right.
So breathing is a very good idea.
Right.
And the other thing is to have your support system, right? Like have people that you reach out to that might have better answers than you have in that moment.
Right.
So call friends who work in the healthcare profession, or talk to nurses, or, reach out to, oh, I think so-and-so's told me they were tested in April. Maybe I should call them and see where they went or what it was like or how did it go.
Right.
So it's okay to slow down and gather some information.
Right.
Gathering information is not a bad idea, rather than jumping to the next step.
Right. Get information instead of become reactive. I think too, I mean, we're not trying to say this can be very serious for some people. And there's been a lot of deaths as a result of COVID. And so I think that's, one reason why we feel so afraid when we hear someone that we know has been exposed. And, another reason to kind of just slow things down and say, okay, someone else's story isn't my story. And how can I best prepare? And now that I have been exposed, what can I do? Quarantining, testing, contacting your support network. Those are all good things to kind of help you through this.
Well, and of course, we're talking about, finding out you need to get tested is not necessarily, you probably don't have any symptoms, which, I did not have any symptoms, and my test came back negative. But so that made it a little easier to go get the test. But for some people, right, getting a test is like I have people that I've worked with over the years that just simply don't want to get a test, because the minute they get the test, that's all the thinking about what the results are going to be is freaking them out. And so if they don't get a test, then they feel like they're going to avoid the results, which, is a very emotional way of dealing with it, but not necessarily a factual way of dealing with it. So that's fair to take a peek at that and watch your fear and what it's immobilizing you to do, and what makes better sense about testing and when you want to test and what you want to look at. The other thing I think can happen is that we were talking about is high judgment can come in, right? Like, like how did you get exposed? Or, well, what were they doing that you've gotten exposed? It's like as if humans are out there doing something terrible and horrible, awful, right, to get themselves exposed. They're breathing, they're breathing in some type of air that has COVID in it, probably. And they're getting it. I mean, that seems to be the likely scenario at this point as we're growing and understanding. So, it doesn't mean they were out there doing horribly mean things to, get people infected.
Right. Or that there's something wrong with them because they're having to go get tested. It's
right. Yeah. Right. When is it, safe, or, and so to take the judgment out if you can, because I think when you have fear, when that fear part of the brain, and we did an episode on fear, and when that fear part of the brain turns on, right, you start wanting to look for someone to accuse, someone to blame, something to accuse, something to blame. And that can make you feel, really angry, because it elicits that big giant, juicy fat fear brain that we have up in our heads, and makes us point the finger and then forget about just being stressed. Now we're agitated, we're aggravated, we're frustrated, we're mad, right? And then we're probably going to go get tested at a place where thousands of people are getting tested at, And, these are workers that have, had to work with thousands of people today. So they're not particularly easygoing.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting themselves at risk to, stick something up your nose.
Mm-hmm.
For the minute you have your face mask on and you're telling them you might have this.
Right.
So try to remember it a little bit from their side of it, that, and then coming in and, they've heard every story. So it can be, you just watch how your fear brain gets turned on.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's in your best interest anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And how you try to, like, breathing is a great way to turn it off. We've talked about exercising is a great way to, meditating, singing songs, doing jumping jacks, anything you can do to kind of change the shift before you just start
Becoming
rambling
reactive.
all your fear thoughts.
Right. I think you said earlier when we were talking prior to this, dress rehearsal, creating a dress rehearsal for what this could be like. And so while we can never plan for the unexpected, we can have a plan for when unexpected things happen. And the biggest thing is, like, for me, when unexpected things happen, I know I can't plan for that, but I know, like, I can pay attention to how my body responds as a way to say, okay, this is a moment I need to take a few deep breaths. If I start to feel that, like, anxious tightness in my stomach, okay, wait, breathe here.
Yeah.
And what you were saying earlier, just about what to do if you've been exposed. These are all things that are quote unquote a dress rehearsal, which helps you for if this does show up.
Right. And I think that's probably been the hardest thing about COVID for a lot of people, is that it just hit us and we had no blueprint for a pandemic.
Right.
Nobody had it. Nobody had. I mean, in almost every profession out there, we all had to create new documents, new pieces of information, new ways to talk about it, new words. I mean, we all had to get Zoom meetings going, and we learn how to be on our computers like this. And oh my gosh, it turns out this chair is horrible to sit on when I'm doing computer meetings, right? I didn't know, because I only sat at the computer desk for maybe an hour before, not, and my home computer desk.
Right.
So we've been blindsided by a lot of things, that, of course, a pandemic would blindside you. But I think this is one of the things that we can stop being blindsided on. We can prepare for the fact that more than likely you or a loved one will be tested for COVID, probably more than once before this whole thing is over. So I think that can give us some control of things if we start to go, oh, this is going to likely happen, rather than make it this thing you should avoid. And control helps people.
Well, it's like when we resist change, what happens as a result of accepting change? It's and even I think in our grief episode we talked a little bit about that. Like, we're all grieving things here, but if we go into denial about it, our grief stays even bigger or longer, or we start not seeing things clearly, and we want to get to a place of almost like acceptance. I don't know if that makes sense, but like accepting, like, okay, this is the new norm, I guess, if you want to say that. Like,
yeah, the new COVID norm.
The new COVID norm, and to be able to kind of, in a way, accept the change and plan for it helps, instead of resisting the change and going into denial about it.
Right. So I think we want to stop and take a break for our sponsors, and remind everybody to look for us on all forms of social media: Facebook, our website,
Instagram.
Yeah, all the good stuff. Look us up and check us out and follow us, and put any questions you have for us up there too, or any comments. We love to hear from you guys. And we're going to take a short break, and we want to thank our sponsors.
Lakeview Health is a leading residential addiction treatment center in Jacksonville, Florida, and a proud sponsor of ShrinksChat. We are a medically supervised facility specializing in gender-responsive treatment and co-occurring mental health disorders. We empower profound recovery every day. So call us at 813-703-8418 or visit lakeviewhealth.com.
ShrinksChat is proudly sponsored by St. Petersburg Therapy, providing counseling for individuals, couples, and groups for over 20 years. Now offering the convenience of telemed, online meeting for your health and safety. For more information, visit online at stpetersburgtherapy.com.
Monica Burton is a licensed marriage and family therapist based in St. Petersburg, Florida, with over 17 years of experience. Monica offers individual, family, and couples therapy, and during this time of COVID-19 is offering teletherapy. Monica invites you to check out her YouTube channel, where she offers great tips and advice on relationships, parenting, family health, resolving conflict, and coping with stress. Go to YouTube to find Monica Burton LMFT. There are new segments every Thursday. Or check out Monica's website at monicaburtonlmft.com.
What if you could train your brain to think healthier thoughts? Cope Notes uses daily text messages to help you do exactly that. All you need is a cell phone and a brain. To learn more and try it for yourself, visit www.copenotes.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to our episode on unique experiences as a result of COVID-19. Welcome back to ShrinkChats.
Hi, everyone. I'm Annette Reiter, and we are going to keep on talking about all of these facts, feelings, and fears. What was that quote? The only thing you have to fear is fear itself.
Yes.
Churchill, I believe.
Yep.
So we were talking with some colleagues of ours, and one of them said, every decision I make all day long has now become a risk management decision. And it was, you and I like really love that thought of like how it's this whole concept of like you had to open up this whole new department in your family, in your person, in your adulthood of risk management.
Right.
Like, where am I going to put my debit card when I go to the grocery store? And where's the hand sanitizer? And where's the mask and the shield and the glasses and the, yeah. And how am I going to get the groceries in my bags and in my car and unloaded and cleaned?
And you just needed ketchup at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And we all have to go through that,
Right.
Again, I know it's bigger than that sometimes too, but it is like a quick trip to the grocery store is not that experience anymore, or even the gas station, or, I don't know. Well, there's not much else that we can really do right now, but those are the things, right?
Well, even walking my dog has changed too. I have to make sure I have in my little bag, I have this bag of stuff that I carry. It's this crossbody bag that I have dog, picker upper stuff in there. And I have a mask in there now. And, what if somebody comes up to me? I have to think about like, oh, are they going to walk on the same side of the sidewalk with me? Or are we going to, who's going to the next side? It's like again, risk management just is seeping into almost every decision I make as I walk out the front door.
So I think part of this is just an indication. This is why we're so stressed. Yeah. This is why, even in our practices, we're seeing things that are cases that are a lot more intense. Or as we've discussed, before, if we had mild levels of anxiety, we now have high levels of anxiety. We're not necessarily meant to have to think about risk management 24/7.
We're not pandemic experts. Let's just put it this way. And now we've had to become.
Right.
Or trying to become.
Right. And
or it's not just anxiety, it's depression, right? Like if you had depression before, now you have, maybe you're even going more into that hypo-arousal state where you're getting more depressed.
Yeah.
More immobilized, more frozen.
And if you're in a romantic relationship or married or in a long-term partnership, it's a little conflict now is becoming a big conflict.
A lot of conflict, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Your relationship with your boss that you found difficult before is hugely annoying now. We were talking about it in an episode just before this with Dr. Lanty about drinking and how that's an increase right now, and using because of the stress too, you know?
Right. So, I think we just want to name it for you guys that these are any stress that you were feeling before is more intense now. And, not to lose hope. Another quote is the only thing stronger than fear is hope. But just to understand, like, okay, this is happening.
Right.
And all the more reason to look at, where's my support network? Maybe giving yourself some grace, letting go of expectations that you might have had before, slowing things down.
Right. And well, you know what's interesting for me, Monica, this is to talk about what we were just talking about in our previous, right before we broke for our sponsors, is that I've gone back to quarantine myself for 2 weeks. Even though I've already tested negative, I'm going to test again. And it was so different this time to come home to work from home. Now, let me say this truthfully. I do not like working from home, but it's okay. I will do it. It's not that bad for me.
Right.
But it was so different because it was all in place.
Yeah.
Everything I already had come and worked from home, and it was surprisingly easy to go, oh yeah, that's right. I sit in the desk here at these hours. I look out this window, and those hours I look out that window so people can see the lights on my face better, right? Like I had figured all of those things out because I had done it before. And so that's the odd, we're starting to get experienced at this new norm. And so it is feeling like maybe less of a risk management to go to the grocery store because okay, now this is what I wear. I got my mask, I got my bags here, I'm not going to touch anything. I'm going to just keep my hands, on the cart and, then only grab things I want, And so we're starting to get a little bit of a system. I've got my card finally on my phone, so I can just like put my phone up to the pay thing. And
right.
So some of the risk management is stressing us out, but also I think we're starting to get some experience in our risk management tactics from having done this from, I don't know how long now, which tells you how stressed I am. Probably.
Right.
How long have we been doing this? Has it been like March?
Yeah.
March.
Yeah. I think someone posted on Facebook the last quote unquote normal day we had was Friday the 13th, which was March. Yeah, but to highlight what you're saying, it's like we're developing a routine in the midst of a pandemic, which is important, which helps de-stress.
Yeah. Right. Having a routine. And then if you haven't gotten one, it's okay to slow down and remember, part of why this risk management is so stressful is that I may not have a routine here. Like I'm finding little bumps that I'm bumping into, I don't have, so we're in Florida, for those of us listening to us outside of Florida, and it is hot now. It is super hot. So part of my go-to before in March, March 14th was, hey, let's meet outside and sit, 8 feet apart and stuff so we can talk, or I can see friends and I can, right? Well, now, besides the mosquitoes and we've had a heat wave of 110 ridiculous degrees in the last few days. The go-to of being outside isn't at all pleasant.
Right.
It's awful. And then, besides that, if there's been rain, then it's mosquito-y and So I'm having to come up with new ways to meet and be, and, new risk management now that the weather is different than it was in March.
Right.
So I think even in the middle of a pandemic and in the middle of maybe a decent risk management plan that you already had going that was working for you, you might find some factors change.
Yeah, like when this started in the Midwest or even in upstate, up,
Mhm.
in the Northeast, it was cold. So maybe they're now having the different, the exact opposite of where we're at. Now it's nice probably up there.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, things are changing. Changing is occurring within the big change.
The only constant is change.
That's right. Right.
So just recognizing that when you're in the middle of kind of being a risk management team, which may not have ever been your job before, or you never really thought that you need to mitigate all these little risky decisions, to just try to be softer on yourself and like
Mm-hmm.
accept that, oh, okay, this is new, this is different.
Mm-hmm.
I now carry some mosquito spray in the back of my car with my chairs in
Mm-hmm.
case I see a friend and we want to hang out outside. I realize I'm going to be hot. I also now have a little, I don't know what they're called, but it's a kind of a weird wet cloth that I wear around my neck, and it's like 10 degrees cooler that I
Mm-hmm.
used to wear with when my kid was young for all her sporting events outside. Right. So, it helps me cool down if I have to be outside. I have long hair, you do too. So you probably put it up quite a bit when you're outside.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm just having to like go, okay, so it's summertime. And really the only way to meet with other people is to be outside.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So finding new ways to manage the risks and new norms, and the system is just constantly changing. And then how to live in that stress.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like, and this is very different, but it's almost like when you have a newborn baby, like you just, at least in my experience, just as I was getting the routine,
Mm.
developmental stage or something different would happen and knock everything out of the water, and you'd have to like
Yeah.
figure it out. And then it's like you'd get good at the one thing, and then everything would change again, and you get good at one thing and everything would change again. And
Yeah.
so the thing that you had to plan for was that everything was just going to change.
Yeah. They finally sleep through the night, and there you are with a mirror making sure they're breathing.
Now.
Right. Yeah. No, I can relate to that.
Uh-huh.
I think that it's not just risk management, it's also like we were talking about the intensity of all this little various things going on. In our state, the counts are going up. Um, there's a lot of financial stressors. The unemployment rates are going up. There are a lot of things going up.
Mm-hmm.
Our friends and families are getting diagnosed with this,
Mm-hmm.
are fearful of our own diagnosis.
Right.
So that there's just that added level of intensity that's kind of going on in the background.
Right.
Somebody said to me, it looks like it's going to be, this is a person out of state, it looks like it's going to be apocalyptic down there in Florida right now. And I'm like, my goodness, I don't know if I can hear that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. Well, that's just that fear, right? Like this is a
Mm-hmm.
person who cares for me and is worried about me and doesn't like what they're hearing about, from another state, what's going on in our state. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I had told them that I had been exposed, so maybe they were nervous about that. But right, like I don't know what was going on, but it did make me realize, like I can't hear words like apocalyptic. That
Yeah.
doesn't help.
Well, I think it's just like you have to know when you need to turn like the radio or the news off,
Mm-hmm.
or like, I don't know, social media. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it just gets to be too much. So I think part of it is also saying, okay, not because you want to go in denial about it, but you have to know what your own limits are to how much you can hear, and know when it's too much, and know it's like, okay, I need enough information to know the facts so I don't jump into my fear, and I need to set really good boundaries for when to say enough's enough.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's good stuff. Very good stuff. So, and just know that change is going to keep happening within this pandemic, and you're gonna be having unique COVID experiences. And
Mm-hmm.
find your peeps, find your friends, find your family, find your support networks, find your professional colleagues. You know, make sure you have a system of people to talk to and debrief with, even just by phone if you can't see them in person.
Right.
So you don't just go into a dark room in your head and have a circular conversation.
Yeah, don't do that.
Take it from the experts, Monica and Annette, who do that all the time. Don't do that.
And remember, guys, stop and breathe.
Yeah.
Stop and breathe.
Thanks for listening in today. We hope this has been helpful on the unique COVID experiences. We hope you keep breathing.
Yes, hang in there, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and our website.
Yep. Take
Thanks.
care. Mm-hmm.